All right, we're here with legendary Hall of Fame top-ranked promoter Bob Arum at the 50th annual NABF convention in Reno, Nevada. And Bob, first of all, congratulations on the groundbreaking deal that you just struck with ESPN. 54 shows over the next 7 years that'll run us into 2025. Tell us in short order, how did that deal come about, and how did you work that?
Yeah, it's 54 shows a year.
Oh,
for 7 years.
A year. My apologies.
Well, we knew that the present situation that existed a couple of years ago was not sustainable, where we sat there with hat in hand waiting for HBO to give us a date. We knew we had to do something to survive. And so Todd DeBuff, who's the president of Top Rank, got together with CAA, Nick Kahn and Alan Gold, really bright guys, and we pitched a situation where we would do fights on an exclusive basis on a particular network. We tried ESPN, we tried NBC, we tried Fox, and we made the great progress with ESPN. And so we entered into a contract with ESPN the first year to do 14 fights on ESPN during the first year, which went from August to the end of July. And ESPN was so enamored with what we were doing that they increased our compensation during the year, and then came to us, and we worked out a deal where we'd program not only ESPN for boxing, but ESPN Plus, and so that allowed us to achieve much more flexibility, a lot more resources from ESPN, and gradually I think it will transition from linear ESPN more to ESPN Plus. Future of television, of the way people watch, is streaming rather than what we now have, linear television.
Now, it's got to be crazy to think that really you've been in boxing well over 50 years, but you had top-ranked boxing on ESPN in and around 1980, and that had a good run for quite a few years, and it seems like you've kind of come full circle. Did you ever imagine that you'd kind of take that path and kind of be back where, not exactly where you started, but where you had your first long series run?
We started with ESPN in April of 1980. They had been in operation 5 months. We were the first significant live television that they had. It was a weekly boxing show. It lasted for 15 years, and every fighter of that era, wherever they ended up, started on ESPN. And that went from Tyson to just about everybody else. It was great, heady time. It built ESPN to where it ultimately went the leader of sports television, but it was the boxing which was the only real live programming they had, because other than the boxing, in the early days, all you saw was tapes of Australian rules football and that kind of stuff. But it was boxing, and ESPN at that point paid cable systems to carry ESPN, and then the president of ESPN was taking a trip with his family, and he saw every motel that he passed had a sign up, "We have top-rank boxing, we have ESPN boxing." And he said, "My God, these cable systems need us more than we need them." And then he instituted a program where if you want ESPN cable system, you have to pay so much per subscriber, because just selling commercials, they were going out of business. Once they changed that dynamic, they became hugely successful. And when Disney finally bought them, they became, I think, the leading income-producing asset that Disney had.
Well, it's really amazing to think that you've kind of been at the forefront and a visionary with getting on board with ESPN at that time, and now seeing the future, as you've called it, with streaming and that's that avenue. And I think for fans of this generation, that's where it is.
Every technological change used boxing as a major element to attract people, whether it was radio, whether then it became television, with the Friday night fights, the Thursday night fights, the Monday, it was easy to televise, whether it was premium television, where when HBO made a deal with me for Hagler fights, paying me 3 times what the over-the-air networks were paying. They more than made up for it, not even close. Hundreds of thousands of new subscribers signed up to watch Marvelous Marvin Hagler. They realized that was the way to get attention. And now, after living through the premium television era, where we were supported in boxing by a duopoly, HBO and Showtime, we're now emerging into where we have an ESPN deal, which relies very, very heavily on streaming. DAZN, which is a European outfit, will be coming to the United States on a streaming basis. So the future for boxing, as is the future for all sports, as is the future for entertainment. See Netflix, which is a streaming service and has a bigger capitalization than Disney does. The future is in streaming, and the only way boxing will get dislodged is if people don't behave properly, if people stop conniving around the edges and make it a sport that loses respect with sponsors, advertisers, and network, and the public.
Now tomorrow, one of your new hot prospects, Teofimo Lopez, is supposed to show up. Just expound on your thoughts on Teofimo just a little bit.
He's a force to be reckoned with. His father calls me all the time to talk. I mean, you don't know if the father is being carried away or really knows something. I mean, Teofimo is an excellent fighter, but he's still a prospect. The father wants him to fight Lomachenko in his next fight, which is a little crazy. So, it's our job, our matchmaker's job, to slow him up a little. But in our opinion, will he become a major star? Absolutely. He has the charisma, he has the ability, punching power, he can box. He's the whole package.
He is. What do you think of Manny's status right now after his fight with Matisse and kind of going out solo like he did and without Freddie and to some degree without Top Rank? What do you see?
Well, we'll be talking to Manny in the near future. He wants to continue fighting. We're there. We're going to help him. Who exactly he fights next and when, we'll find out from him. But, as long as he wants to keep going, it'll be a good attraction.
Okay. Bob, thank you for your time and your words. Congratulations on the new deal. I think it's one that is obviously going to attract the newer and younger fans and the new demographic, which boxing needs. And kudos to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's great for the young kids because every fight that we put on, every fight on the card will be shown on the app. So, I mean, that's great. So kids in the past fought great fights when they were coming up, and nobody saw them. Now, a big audience will be watching each and every one of their fights.
That's great. All right. Thank you, Bob.